All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 85, and I am your host, Supreme King, and joined with me is my co-host, as always, and his name is...
It's your guy Obeses.
All right, folks, my co-host wanted to let you know that he played Foamstars, one of his favorite games of all time now. So it's on the screen. He couldn't wait to let y'all know how it was. How is this game? How is it, man?
Oh, bad. Kind of mediocre. So it is not for me. This is definitely for kids. It is Fortnite fused with Splatoon, I guess. You're like shooting foam people, and you got like 8 characters that you can use that all shoot differently and have different specials. And the idea is you shoot the ground, and when the ground is your color, your team can slide across it faster. If it's the other color, you move slow. You have to cover the people with the foam until they're stuck in a ball, and then you have to slide your surfboard into them, and it knocks them out of the arena. If you slide it to your teammate, it frees them. And if you need to get up to high surfaces, you can pile the foam until you're able to climb it. Uh, and you just keep taking out the opponents until they label one of them the captain, and then if you can eliminate the captain, you win. Your team wins. It's just it's just chaos, and
I mean,
everybody
your character kind of looked like alternate universe Bugs Lightyear to me, but
a little bit.
like a
And
different Bugs.
if your team doesn't come in organized, like the other team here, just stuck in a circle and just blasted together, they were fine. My team was all over the place. Didn't work out because everyone's constantly by themselves. Also, you could tell it's for kids because right away, one of the first things they like tell you is that we don't say kill, we say cooled off because someone's fired up and you gotta cool them off with the foam, and we don't say like it's a battle or a match. It's a party. Like
Okay.
but it stopped like to explain that right away. It was just like, don't say match, say party, and don't say kill, say you cooled them off. All right, back to the fun. So
So
it's like,
so as the pressure starts to build, um, it produces more foam.
yo, just like this. But I just caught what you were doing there. Okay.
Pause.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was just a lot of chaos. It's hard to keep track of what's going on. Uh,
I saw on the
and
screen it said it was warming up.
yeah,
Okay.
uh, yeah,
That's
like
what's
you
up.
have to get through like 7 takeouts in order to get them to label a captain. I don't know. It was a lot of chaos. It was
All right.
yeah.
How many
I
people
played
was
it.
on like for as far as teams? Like how
It
many people was
was a
on each
four
team?
v four.
Okay.
4v4. The first match I didn't take that long to get into. The second match took like 2-3 minutes before it finally loaded it.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, 4v4 is okay.
What's the what do you know what the gig size was on this to install for the system for anybody who might be, struggling with space?
I can look it up. I don't think it was that much.
Okay.
It was less than 20 gigs.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not bad at all, really. You still have your room for your triple A's.
Yeah.
And then you have this to hold you over if you need a really good release. You can pop in Foamstars.
If you can get a release off of Foamstars,
All right, I guess we could probably move on from that. Speaking of applying pressure, uh, I want to talk about Nintendo real quick. Nintendo is back at it again. We know Nintendo for doing these things throughout the years. They try to ruin a lot of people's lives and stuff, but now they've decided we're gonna take things to a different level with how we are trying to strong arm the internet or the market or something. And so Nintendo decides they want to sue the makers of the Yuzu emulator. Have you heard about this?
I did not.
Yeah. So it's strange because I still remember the situation with like the Steam Deck and how they was like you cannot put the the Dolphin emulator on there, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Steam users was just like says who. But I guess now the Yuzu emulator, for anybody wondering who doesn't already know, is the main, or at least one of the emulators for the Switch itself. And the biggest culprit that set Nintendo off apparently was Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Because if anybody remember, people were playing the game up to 3 weeks early before the game's release, through emulation itself. And it's one thing for somebody to get their hands on the Nintendo Switch OLED that was like the Tears of the Kingdom OLED, because I think that was hitting like early to certain people too. But it's another thing to have the game early and you didn't even play it through the Switch. You was just playing it like, I guess, illegally, right? And so Nintendo is suing them, and I guess one of their statements was there's no legal way to actually use the Yuzu emulator. Like the only thing you would use it, which kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, the only reason you would use a lot of emulators is just to emulate games. And so that's the stance that they're going with, and they're doing it with that one. And I know it's just because they're salty over that game. That was the game that they tried to like take advantage of a $70 price point, even though it was not a next gen game. And you know, it was probably hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who played this on the Yuzu emulator. And so yeah, man, they're taking a shot. I don't know if they really have a case. Is from everything Nintendo has been doing, it's not so much if they had a case before. It was just, we're gonna strong arm our will on like the little guy, right? Like just an individual. But now it looks like they're going against like tech people.
Unless the Yuzu emulator people were out here saying, hey, get this so you can play Legend of Zelda. Like, unless they were specifically advertising it for, I don't think they have a case. Because I feel like this is the equivalent of like if every single person who bought a Hummer drove it into a store, then you want to sue Hummer. And it's like, they didn't make these people. Right? Like, I feel like it's equivalent to that.
My equivalence, I think my example would be, because I was going to bring this example up, like if like the music industry decided to just start suing like CD players because they can play like mixtapes and burnt CDs, basically.
Right. You didn't make the people make that.
Yeah.
Right? Like the burnt CD, regardless of why it was invented, it wasn't there to tell somebody to steal.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with you.
Or like, we're gonna sue a company for making, like, this is really taking it back though. Like having the computer part that allows you to rewrite CDs or rewrite over DVDs. And it's like, well, even though it could have done that, and there were people who still did that. Like if, for anybody who is cultured, like you always had your guy who was around like a barbershop or whatever, right? Who's got like CDs and movies and all that stuff. And so that guy did it a bunch of times and would hang out around the barbershops and try to sell movies and DVDs for like $2 to $5 and stuff like that. And so he's probably in the wrong, but it's like it's not the equipment's fault. It's just the person doing it, probably his intent and everything is wrong, but the equipment itself is just functioning like how it was supposed to function. It was something that was made to emulate something or copy something, and they're trying to go after them. I remember they were upset with like GitHub at one point. They wanted to go after GitHub for having, I guess, the files up there, or a tutorial on how to dump the Nintendo Switch, like how to dump the data from the cartridge onto your computer and back it up. Because technically, once you buy it, it's perfectly legal for you to back up your own copy. But obviously, it's like, well, what's stopping you as an individual for making a copy to somebody else? Like, on paper, you're not supposed to, but you could easily be like, here it is.
It says, like, don't sell. Like, those are those warning things, you're not allowed to sell. That's, the company said that. So, like, it's not on you. It's not on them if you do sell it.
Yeah, and so Nintendo is trying to, like just basically overstep their boundaries in a way. Because I just don't feel like they have the ability to say and do and make people do any of these stuff. Like the stuff that happened with GitHub kind of like died down. I don't even know what happened from that. I'm pretty sure the files and stuff is still up there, because GitHub is a bigger database where people share code basically for different things. And Nintendo's situation is like the smallest thing in the big wide world of GitHub. There's so much code over there that people share just for so many different reasons that nobody's
like go through and specifically sue the users who are sharing specific stuff. Like, you have to go through person by person and sue, which I wouldn't put it past them doing that.
Yeah, I think with Steam and Steam with the Dolphin emulator, like, you technically still have the ability to put it through in there yourself. It's just they can't have it like listed under Steam, like officially, apparently. And that was a Nintendo thing, because it's like, well, that's just so you could take GameCube and Wii games, I guess. But the thing is, a Steam user is going to do that anyway. Like, Steam having like Dolphin on there was probably for less than 1% of the Steam Deck users, because pretty much the crowd around Steam Deck, and also a PC player where PC is their first machine or first preferred machine, like, they're already tech savvy to do all that stuff. Right, these are the people who are already going to, pirate a game if they want to, or mod a game if they want to. They're very well versed in that field. This isn't new to them. If anything, it was more for the person who's just like looking for that plug and play experience, and they don't want to deviate too far from that. Maybe that was for them, but I think Nintendo was getting nowhere with the Dolphin emulator. Like, everybody would have had their emulator set up already. And then there are still countless devices that keep going out there in the market that you can buy that has all that stuff already set up on it. But the Switch is a current platform, right? Maybe this is their last year, but it's still technically current as of this recording. So I can understand Nintendo's position. I just feel like they're doing too much. Like, I don't think it's going to work. Even if the Yuzu emulator is somehow, some way taken down, it's pretty much, you're going to have the fan base reverse engineer it and put another name on it and just put it back out there anyway. Right? Because it's not going to, anybody who's already downloaded it, like, at this point, so many people have already downloaded it, right? It's like who are you going to stop from getting it out? Like the Switch is in its last year. Like who are you going to get to stop them from downloading? They would have been downloading this entire time. Right? Like you're a little way too late. This should have happened, if anything, back in like 2018 or something. But yeah, anybody who's already got the Yuzu emulator, and then at the same time, everybody who did it, they already played Tears of the Kingdom, probably finished it through emulation. It's like you can't stop it. It's just it is what it is. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Is Nintendo overstepping their boundaries? Are they right? Are they wrong? What do you think?
I think they need to calm down. You got enough money. Like it's just part of me is always just you make enough. Like you're fine. Why are you bothered with this? Like who cares? And I don't think they have a case that they're gonna win, but I do think they're not even trying to really win. I think they're just trying to scare. Like,
Yeah,
Nintendo might come after you. Maybe some people are like not gonna download it, right? Like maybe there could be those people who goes, well, I know that Nintendo's suing, and like even if they won't beat them, I don't want them to also look at just me. So maybe I didn't download it yet and I stay away. So I think they're just trying to scare, but like I don't like it when rich companies do that, but whatever.
yeah. I think some of the stories that I didn't like hearing was when like they tried to strong arm GameStop into firing a dude, and I think they may have did it a while
Yeah.
back when I guess he leaked like a release date schedule or something, or put it up on a Reddit or something, like a screenshot of something he took a screenshot of,
Which is
or
stupid
a
because
picture.
GameStop has a binder with
Hmm.
release dates, and if you ask, they'll just let you see it. Like if you
Yeah.
want to start reserving games early, you can just like. There's been times where somebody told me, "Hey, if you like this game, another one," and then they'll just pull out the binder. It's like coming out soon, and they'll scroll through to show me. It'd be like, just keep in mind this date.
Yeah,
What's
because at
about
the same
to come
time, some of them get pressured about sales and stuff with
out.
like in certain stores where the retailers are just like really really like on them and everything. Because I remember for a long time with GameStop, they kept like if you was to call them or you went in there, they kept reminding you like we will buy your phone. It's like, dude, like I'm not about to sell my phone, like. And so yeah, they're almost acting like they were commission based there or something. Like
You would
they
think.
just,
You would
yeah,
think.
it was a little egregious, but yeah, I feel like they would just tell you certain things. Like sometimes they also tell you which store has how many copies of whatever game, which I do know in other retailers that's a no. You're just supposed to say you got to call down there or ask or something. But you can't just like speak for a different store, I guess. But they kind of do that. They do that. Like I don't know. It's a strange thing, but yeah. Back to Nintendo. I think this might blow over a little bit, or we might just not hear about it for a while because it seems bizarre. Because I just feel like I could just download Yuzu like whenever. Like let's say I could download that on like one of the PC machines as soon as we're done now. And if they tried to take it down officially, it would just go down from their website, but some version of it would still be out there. So it's like anybody who's in that mode where it's like, I want this emulator, they're going to get it. They'll just get a version of it right before it was officially taken down. So Nintendo's not going to win in this case. They'll get the official thing taken down at the very least. But the thing is, pirates are pirates. There's no stopping a pirate. I think the best thing for them to do is just focus on coming out with hardware that's going to be worth using as far as like the next Switch 2, whatever it's going to be called. Because if they come out with hardware that's at the very least matching the Lenovo Go or Lenovo Legion Go or the Rogue Ally, the Steam Deck, a couple other ones I can't really think of their names. You know, if it matches that, then for a lot of people there'll be no need to emulate. You would just buy, you know, the Switch too, because almost every machine, because remember the Switch is undercutting everything across the board when it comes to like how much it costs, right? So if people are willing to spend more money on a different machine simply to play the game better, I feel like they would just spend the more money on the Switch 2 itself if it's capable hardware. You know, the way to solve this problem is to make sure that that machine has the 4K, it has the 60 frames, it should probably have 120 frames because everything is like practically a cartoon anyway, right? If there's a lot of their stuff is not photorealistic, so definitely go for that, and then nobody will emulate. What would be the point of emulating, right? Their thought process should be, how do we make our machine so good that all these other PC handhelds will seem useless? That should be their thought process, not trying to sue a bunch of people. That's just goofy. Any last words on this before we move on? We can move on.
Nah, well, we can move on to Pokemon Day since we were talking about Nintendo. So Pokemon Day was this past week, and they've announced a few things. One of the biggest things that they announced, like you know, like little things like for that Pokemon Sleep character coming tonight, Cafe Remix, and some more stuff for the card game. The two big things is they're making Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. So it's like a phone game that lets you pretty much play the Pokemon card game. So it'll be probably very like a cheaper version of Magic the Gathering Arena. Where
I think I did see that though. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you'll start with like an open pack. You can keep playing to like get more coins to open new packs and get new mods, or you can pay real money to open packs and get mods for like a digital collection card thing. Yeah. You don't have to put money. So like I've played Magic the Gathering Arena. I have put $0 into Magic the Gathering Arena, and I have like 15 decks. I was just playing earlier today. I was on a little win streak. Like, you don't need to put money in. Usually the money goes to like people who are impatient. But regardless, you can just play. I think it'll be a cool way to also learn how to play the actual card game for Pokemon. So I'll be checking that out for sure. And then Pokemon Legends Z-A. So they decided, everybody thought the order was going to be like new Pokemon generation, DLC, remake, a Legends game. And then, as they did with Sword and Shield, DLC, then they released Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Then they did Pokemon Legends Arceus. Then they did Scarlet and Violet. Then they released the DLC, so that everybody was expecting, I think, either X and Y or Black and White getting a remake. And instead, they were like, nah, we're giving you Pokemon Legends Z-A. So the Legends games got moved up. And rather than being a past version like Arceus, this one takes place in the far future for the same town for X and Y. So we're officially getting Pokemon Z. Like everybody thought when they used to do the trios, like it was red, blue, and then yellow, or
so are they bringing back the Mega Forms then?
Yes, they're doing the Megas. So the Mega Forms are coming back. Some new Pokemon will probably get Megas. And we're officially getting Z. So I'm excited for that. That should be fun. Especially seeing how they do it with like it's supposed to be a super future aesthetic. So I'm interested to see how they go there. It is interesting though, because I haven't beaten Scarlet and Violet. I have like the Switch ones. Outside of what was it? The Sword and Shield. I beat
Hmm.
Sword. Like I got through pretty much everything, all the story and stuff. But then the rest, so Brilliant Diamond, Legends Arceus, and Scarlet, I have not beat. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, I fell off. Like I used to like get a Pokemon game, and within 2 months I'm done. Like I have now beaten it, got through the story, everything like that. Like it would take over. And
Hmm.
even I saw somebody else post. It was like for some reason Pokemon ain't like those Game Boy Advance and DS days. Like the Switch days feel different for some reason, and I feel the same way, and I don't know why. Could just be I'm older, but or I got a lot more to play now. But yeah, I haven't beaten them, but I still plan on getting the ZA.
So that's interesting. So, you have multiple Pokemon games that you haven't finished, and you gonna start the next one too without
Probably not.
finishing.
So I don't think I'm gonna get it right away, and I don't really want to start it another one until I at least beat Scarlet.
Okay.
Like it feels too weird unless there's like some crazy game mechanic in there that is like, yo, you gotta play this. I think I need to. I want to beat Scarlet first. But crazy is I should also go back and beat Legends Arceus first as
Hmm.
well. Uh, yeah, I don't think I'll start a new one right away. But now it's like I want to beat these before 2025 now. So I'm almost giving myself a time limit now to beat Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but
like there were times where you were praising I think Digimon Survive,
yes,
and for me,
I. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say for me that game is like 4 games ahead of where I am, I think. And I
Fair.
have all the ones in between, and I'm like, well, I don't even know when I'm gonna get to it because of like Cyber Sleuth. I think I was halfway in, even though it had like 114 hours or something.
Yeah, that was one
Um,
of those long ones.
and then there was like so I had it as a 2 pack. So there's, I think it's called the next story or something
Cyber
like,
Sleuth and Hacker's Memory.
yeah, Hacker's Memory, and then the next story is the whole another game, right? That I think, I don't know if it
Oh, Next Order, right?
next order. Yeah, I bought it,
Oh,
but I
okay.
haven't gotten to it because I'm still on the Cyber
Yeah,
Sleuth, which is half
Digimon
of the
World
one
Next Order.
cartridge. Because I got the Switch version, which was like complete with both of them on there,
Okay.
and so there's finished Cyber Sleuth, then Hack's Memory, then the next order, and then Survive. I think that's
So
where
I
I'm
did
at.
not play Next Order.
Uh huh.
Uh, uh, okay, so I haven't played Next Order. If for whatever reason you did want to break the cycle, for it, I will say, but like game wise, Survivor is drastically different. Uh,
Yeah.
from the other ones.
And I know they're not
Uh,
connected. I was just
no, but also gameplay wise, it is drastically different.
right.
So if you needed a break from the like run around sort of situations that they do, like the run around talking and stuff like that, there'll be a lot of talking, but like it is all talking. Did you
But
want to
that's
survive?
also a thing too because in the middle of those, I kind of jumped into the Persona series, which
Woo!
I
Yeah.
think is a little bit longer, and I think also a little bit more engaging.
Yes.
I'm a little bit more, which I didn't think I would be more like engaged in that story because something like Digimon I had like kind of grew up with. I know a lot of them, and big fans of some of the mega levels and stuff. But I gotta say, as far as just like laid out more engaging story, I gotta go with Persona all day.
Yeah.
Where
Well, they also
Digimon, I'm
know
just kind of
story.
running around with some of my favorite guys. But
Now, I will say, if you do, when you do eventually get to it, eventually, like years from now, we do got to talk about Survive. I do think you'll like the story a
yeah,
lot. Uh, yeah, I do think you'll like the story a lot. And I will say, it just sometimes reminds me that not every time is Digimon for like kids. It's not necessarily
yeah.
for kids. Like, ooh boy. Uh, But yeah, and also even as we talk about these, like I want to hop back into Persona games as well, which and there's also another monster catch 'em game that I really want to play, and that's Cassette Beast, and I feel like that's gonna overtake Pokemon for me, probably. Uh, we'll see, but
Yeah.
overall, I am still excited for ZA.
But listen, man, I gotta come back to Pokemon for a second. Pokemon, we got the pressure on your neck, son. You got some big competition out here known as Power World. You know what I'm saying? They shook the formula up for everybody. You can't just come out with a regular old Pokemon game at this
All I
point.
know is if Pokemon ZA has crafting and guns in it, I am going to not stop making fun of Nintendo. I will
Yo,
not stop making
I
fun
think
of
it
them.
was a little too late for like they just now coming out with it. It's like I don't know if they expected like they knew what they would have had with Pokemon and they knew the response. And so that's why probably the statement that they released, they were probably a little worried because they knew they were probably still putting out a Pokemon game that people are more familiar with, where like Power World shook up the formula a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, they gotta come correct. Like, you gotta make sure it's working, and you gotta make sure your frame rate is on point. You gotta make sure it's not a bunch of dips and stuff, no crashes, like any of that, you know. Cause yo, the competition is there. It's there. It definitely took over January. And at the same time, you know, you got people like IGN on your neck saying your game looked like a Dreamcast game. You know what I'm saying? You can't have nobody out here.
IGN. No, we not taking IGN's opinion, all right? They can go off the Next.
Hey man, they showed the proof. I didn't know they showed the side by side, or I forgot it was something like that. They
They
had
show
proof,
further, but it
man.
was not a Dreamcast game. We're not going to go there. With, dog, they don't even know how to aim in Halo. Like, we not taking their opinion, all
All
right?
right, all right. I don't know. It was you know, it was looking a little spooky on that last release in 2022. I know the diehard fans, you know, chose
It
to
was.
overlook some of it, but it was looking a little spooky. They still got their sales or whatever, but critically acclaimed, Scarlet and Violet was not too good apparently. But I mean, hey, they might bounce back. This ain't the exact same team as the other team, so we'll see. But you know, speaking of a little spooky, you want to tell me what's going on with the paranormal activity? You wrote this down, man. What we
Yeah.
talking about, man?
So, the makers of the Mortuary Assistant was a 2022 game that was, from my understanding, it was pretty good.
The game that PlayStation decided to censor because they didn't want you to play like cut somebody's head, or not they cut their face open or something, cutting their face off from like all the way around like in a circle,
Was
cutting
that the
off the skin. Yeah, I think that's what it was. If I'm not mistaken.
I thought that was this other one where it was like, nah, that was not the one. What's that game called? Because it was the one where it was like it was some horror story where she was on the beach. I don't think that was the Mortuary Assistant.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken, but
The Mortuary Assistant was just one where you work at like a mortuary and like you're
yeah.
supposed to like prepare the bodies and everything. And there's like all of this supernatural stuff going on. So it's like you'll turn around and it'll just be a ghost down the hall, or like you'll hear like noises or things coming at you. And there's this like creepy thing that'll be in the corner. It was super goofy. Like it was like a jump scare, but like also the thing looks funny when you get to actually freeze on it. Um, well, it was good at doing the like these things happen in the background, like run.
All right, my
Uh,
mistake though. I think it was called Martha is Dead.
that Martha is
My
dead is
my
the one that
bad,
makes
my
that.
bad. I got I the M word. I just heard M and I thought,
Yeah.
okay, my bad. I corrected
Well,
myself, so don't
but
nobody
I
come
saw
at
some
me in the
people.
comments.
I saw some people play the mortuary assistant.
Yeah,
Like it was goofy, but it was like good. Nice little jump scare, easy stuff, like a one-time playthrough sort of thing. But they're going to be making a paranormal activity game.
I wonder how that's gonna work because it's just gonna be like, because all the movies, I mean, somewhat spoilers. I mean, after about an hour in, you know, this invisible thing is just like dragging you all over the place. They making you,
That's what it is.
they're putting you in submission holds and stuff and breaking you all up. Like,
So you'll probably be like walking around. It'll be like found footage, I think they said. So you're gonna be walking around with your camera. Sometimes you may have to rewind, and something might be behind you, and you gotta run or something like that. Uh,
mm-hmm.
so I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. I would like to see. It reminds me. It's funny because it's just so many games out there. Like we're gonna get into a bigger topic in a second, but you know what it reminds me of is the game called the Blair Witch Project, I think.
Yeah.
Which I didn't play yet, but I have, I believe, the PC version, probably because of Epic. Yeah, I think it was because of Epic. Epic, I guess, gave it away at some point, and I claimed it, and I'm like, well, I will kind of put that in that category a little bit. It's just so many games. So when this comes out, I would definitely look into it. I'm definitely gonna wish list it, but I might not be jumping on it immediately because I always think of like, well, what do I have now that I could have been playing sometimes that I own before I just go jump into the next one, you know? Like I didn't get around to Lies of P yet, you know, and a lot of people are like hyped for the Elden Ring DLC. And it's like, I think the Elden Ring DLC is supposed to be like $40. So it's like it could potentially cost more than a game if you buy it physically somewhere for cheaper. And so it's like, but I could play Lies of P real quick and find a discounted version somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that before like a whole list of games. Like it's just so many of them. And when I hear about Paranormal, the first thing that does come to mind is Blair Witch. Which I'm not sure how long ago it was, but I know it came out a while back. But yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll you know, look at it some more once more and more footage and stuff come out. But I think we could probably get into the halfway point because it's not really going to be too much longer. We're going to have like one bigger topic and a few little topics here and there. So at the halfway point, I usually just highlight some free games and some sales that people can look into. And I don't think I have too many sales. I would just keep reminding people to keep passing through some of your favorite stores that are mainly retail, because with the whole physical media thing, I'm still starting to see a lot of like clearance stuff here and there. And a lot of those like $5 DVD bins, they're starting to put a bunch of games in there as well. So definitely keep looking out in your local areas to find some good deals, because I found some good stuff here and there since we started the new year. And eventually it's going to go away for good. I don't think we're going to get that many like Black Friday sales on physical media this year, next year. But a lot of it is being liquidated right now, so definitely go take a look. But as far as the free stuff, I highlight the unofficial sponsor every single time, which is Epic Games. Pretty sure a lot of people who are PC users, they prefer Steam, and that's fine. But free is free. You can't really be upset with that, right? And so the first game that I can make people aware of as of right now of this recording is free until March 7th. And that is Aerial Knights Never Yield. I spoke more about the creator I think last week or the week before, just because of a funny thing that he was talking about as revolving, I think, a whole nother game. But his game here, you can get for free through Epic. So I guess Epic is going to throw him the bag. So shout out to him. And then it's a cool looking game though. A lot of running and jumping and some cool little hip hop all throughout it. So definitely come check this out. And then the other game is Astro Duel 2, and this will be available from March 7th until March 14th. 100% free. You don't have to pay a dime, but you do need to create a profile. And once you create your profile, you can still use like one of your old gamer tags or whatever to create this profile on PC. And even if you don't have a PC, once you get one or one of the handhelds, you can log in and all of these games are right there for you to download. So yeah, that's it for the Epic Games stuff. I think we could probably wrap in some of the news stuff in this as well that doesn't have anything to do with these big layoffs. Like for example, one of your stories about like you at one point we're going to be able to smell certain fumes and stuff within the game.
Now at one point, I think now.
I saw it took a degenerate left turn. I saw what people were saying. So there will be the mods probably too and stuff. I saw what people were saying.
So there's this thing called GameSense. It's a device that lets you smell what's going on in the games. Right now, though, it features 6 smells: gunfire, explosion, forest racing, and storm. And then clean air.
Yeah, okay.
Some people were already saying, you know, they can mod extra stuff. So you got your gross games, you're not safe for work stuff that they wanted to mod in. The one I always kept thinking about is like, if you play a zombie game, do you really want to smell that? Like,
yeah. Well, Foamstars earlier on, it would smell like a shower, right? I guess I don't know.
Soap everywhere.
But you know what's
those type of gamers with the illusion of soap. Like they need the real thing. But
yeah. What I think is interesting though is because I'm still looking into a lot of the like VR headsets. Like what will be interesting is at some point, like I think Apple might get to that point first, but like they do a thing where you could probably smell an environment like in I guess within the headset itself, like a fragrance or something that you might want to buy. Let's say from like it's kind of going away from gaming a tad bit, but like let's say you go under like Amazon, right, on the Apple headset, and it's like you wanted to buy something that does have a certain fragrance, and maybe you could smell it through the thing. I don't know. Maybe that's too far ahead. Maybe we'll see that in 20 years or something. I don't know.
Part of my issue though is I don't want to be like in an apartment and like I can just smell gunfire, right? Like from below me or just.
I'm kind of confused on it too. Wouldn't that thing you have to keep recharging it with something or almost like how like how a printer needs ink? It would need certain like like different smells that it can just like take and concoct together, and then just boom, it just sprays something at you. That's what I would think. I don't know how realistic people really want it to be, because technically when you reload a gun, it's not realistic in most games, because you just get all of your bullets in the chamber instead of like discarding the bullets you have if you didn't run out first. You know what I mean?
Yep. Some games do that though.
Yeah, but it's not all of them. So I don't know. But more power to everybody. If they want to have those options, they can have those options. Yeah, and I guess your other story might be kind of quick too though. South Korea trying to get rid of Twitch.
Yeah. So this is short. It's their Twitch is no longer operating in South Korea. So it happened this week. Basically, the taxes. The short version is the taxes are too much, and South Korea charges them too much to operate in Twitch, to where Twitch was losing money operating in South Korea. It cost them way too much for it to even run in South Korea, right? So
did they have yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this basically would be like we have to pay South Korea to be here, and then the people who run Twitch like streams on South Korea will get paid. We get a percentage of that. The percentage is really supposed to like cover what they're supposed to pay to operate there and profit. And it was like they were not only like not making profit, they still owe like they're not making enough because of how much South Korea was charging. So they were just like, we are not going to operate here anymore. But what they have decided to do, they were ending it, but we're going to also like put in work for helping any of their streamers in South Korea move to a new platform. So I guess it's like helping to access all their stuff or make the move like seamless.
Mm-hmm.
Helping with profile setup, I guess helping where like if somebody specifically searches them for South Korea, it'll redirect them to wherever they're streaming now instead. So like that move, they want to help their South Korean Twitch streamers with their move because they're just like we just can't operate here anymore. So they're not just completely throwing them away. They're doing something to help, but it doesn't operate in South Korea anymore.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, do they have like any big names over there that are just like cut off now? Probably.
Yes, but I can't pronounce them, and or it's people I've never heard of, but it's people who like watched from South Korea. They had names of like a group there.
It's interesting because the big competition for Twitch right now technically is the platform known as Kick. So I think a lot of people are like, there's a lot of the stories of people getting paid way crazy amount of money to be exclusive to Kick and leaving Twitch and stuff. One by one, it seemed like to be a lot of names. So if they're like allowing them to have like things get redirected over there, that would be interesting with them being their biggest competitor.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to do that. Most people were thinking it's going to be if they move to YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube is a little bit more neutral to Twitch. Like I don't think
specific South Korean website, like their own specific website. It'll help them move to that. They didn't say no to Kick, but people were guessing like they're gonna help them go other places.
Yeah, because Kick is the big one. That's the real big one for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they were like, hey, go to our competition. I don't know, but yeah. Well, I guess we can move on quickly. Speaking of competition out here, we got some competition in the gaming space that we got to start putting some respect on these people's name, man. And now you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Playdate, man. We got a new update. Playdate Direct, Playdate Showcase, Playdate Super Show, however you want to say it. Everybody had a show. Now the Playdate had a show. Did you see the show?
Of course I did.
Why didn't you see the? See, my co-host is not watching the shows. And y'all got. He didn't watch. This is like the third or fourth show he ain't watched. What are we doing, man?
It was a busy people. Week, and you were gonna see the Playdate.
Okay,
show.
The show was a 15-minute show.
My bad. I'm not getting a Playdate.
It's a 15-minute show.
Was I gonna watch the show or was I gonna take a nap? And I chose to take a nap.
This is this is the console with, from what I can understand, no layoffs. We're gonna get to some layoffs. They never had layoffs. The most exclusives this generation. You know what I'm saying? Most unique console. Also, most unique console. The cheapest price. I mean, what else do y'all need? I mean, we got. It's too much good here. I took it upon myself to watch the GOAT Playdate come out with their little showcase. They showed off even more exclusives, more bangers. They got a couple things that they want to let you know about. Like, for example, their system is no longer backed up in pre-orders. You can buy it right now and it will ship to you in a matter of days. I think I mentioned that before because you know I'm on top of these things. I'm on top of the Playdate news. The only podcast is going to give you up-to-date Playdate news. Yes, I went there. I don't hear nobody else talking about Playdate. So yes, you can buy, like I could hit buy right now and it'll be here within a matter of a few days or a week or something. It will ship out in a few days. But they also have a sale that's going to go down on the Playdate's eShop, I believe, on March 7th. That's going to last till March 14th. So you can go out there and get even more games. And I got to say for myself, man, I saw a game that I liked. I saw a game that I highlighted here that has not come out yet, that's coming out soon. It's called Midnight Raider Game, I think is what it's called. Or Midnight Raider, not Midnight Raider Game, Midnight Raider. You play as the person who is delivering some packages. They on a bike. It's nighttime. People trying to stop them from delivering packages. It's not like Death Stranding or anything, you know. I know that's how people probably thought, but no, he on a bike, you know what I mean. And then it's side scrolling a little bit, and you could shoot the people with the arrows and stuff. You can use the crank to like lower and raise like a bridge and that kind of thing. So I was like, yo, I'm feeling this one. This is one of them that I have to write down, you know what I'm saying? Because you know when you talk about, oh, what's the system sellers, and once you get so many of them, you buy the system. Listen, I got one, man. I got one here. I was like, listen, this is good. This is good. As a reminder, this thing is not $220 no more. It's $200 even. Unless you get the little case. You probably won't need the case. You could probably put this bad boy in like a sock or something, and you'll be alright. You know what I'm saying? The Playdate is here, man. Listen, no layoffs. 100% exclusives. No funny business on the exclusive. It's like 100% Playdate exclusives. You know what I'm saying? Great. Not 2-3 years later is over here and there. No, it's 100% Playdate exclusives, man. 100%, man. What you got to say about that? What you got to say about this, man?
I'm happy to see them like still going.
Put some respect on Playdate's name. We gotta get a review copy or something. I don't know. We gotta get this. That'd be cool.
I'll play their games. Give me a review copy. I definitely played them all.
Listen, man, this thing is revolutionary. I've never ever seen a system, period, with a crank on it. Never. Have you seen a system that has a regular controller? Of course you have. Of course you. You've never seen one with a crank. I mean, this thing is just unique, man. I'm just saying. All right, we can move on. But yeah, man, Playdate out here doing big things. And let me tell you something. Nobody who develops for the Playdate said anything about how they're burnt out, possibly can't do it no more. They ready to keep putting out games. But guess who said that they don't know how many more games they got left in them, man? We gonna move on. My man's Neil Druckman came out here and got the world kind of questioning, what is he saying? Is he trying to retire? Is he saying he quitting? I don't think he's saying he quitting. I think he's a little fatigued. The Last of Us thing is fatiguing him a little bit. But my man's came out here apparently in an interview or something. I don't know the exact details, but the headlines that I was seeing was that he was saying he doesn't have many more AAA games left in him. That was the thing he said. So I don't think that means he's quitting completely or anything like that. But you guys got to understand, The Last of Us 2, the way Sony and PlayStation was milking Naughty Dog Studio dry over this game. Remember, we had to redo the first one and then redo the second one. They had the factions that got canceled. All that work going down the drain. We don't know what's happening with it. Are they going to rehash some of that for something else? Maybe Last of Us 3. You know what I'm saying? There's probably The Last of Us 3 that might be in development. And then on top of that is like the TV show, the first season, the second season, the debacle that had to go on with The Last of Us Part 2 in the height of its release. Because remember, they had all that talk about crunch, all that talk about people not liking the game direction and stuff. And then just the bad press with Naughty Dog in general over all of that. And people pretty much hating the direction of the game before it even came out. They didn't probably know if it was going to be dead on arrival or not, you know, and having to deal with like, you know, the awards show at the time kind of shielding for the game, but the entire fan base was like completely behind other games like Ghost of Tsushima at the time. So it was just like, maybe my man's is exhausted. That's what I'm thinking. He just exhausted. But
fair.
Yeah.
Also, let's not forget, AAA has a bunch of you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this, and he to me seems like a person who, as much as like we'll make jokes and everything, he does seem like a person who's really into like storytelling, and some of that might be stifled if it has to be a AAA game, where it's like, but you still have to do this, this, and this. Where in a AA space, he gets to kind of do what he wants.
Yeah, I think there was also the pressure of being a top studio of PlayStation with so many systems sold and so much going on, and it's like people really waiting for your game, and you know, like a lot of years in between from the last game and that kind of thing. And also, like how I said, like dealing with all the bad press from the re-releases, this probably wasn't 100% his call. That probably definitely was a Sony call, because we've seen so many remasters of all the other games that don't have nothing to do with Naughty Dog, right? It's just under PlayStation. And so, yeah, I just think he probably wants to dial it back a little bit, but maybe he's not 100% quitting. I don't think he's 100% quitting, because it's just like Neil Druckman is still, like, he's been in the game for a while, but the dude's not like Jim Ryan age. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see him just stopping completely. If anything, like, he may have failed back for a bit. Like God of War is on the screen right now. Like God of War Ragnarok, like they switched directors, right? From away from Corey. And so maybe something like that might happen and he'll still be in gaming, but maybe he just won't be directing Last of Us 3. I don't know. But the internet was looking at it like, yo, my man's is about to be the next one out the door. Just like some of the other ones, where I think with the other ones who are just like pure execs and stuff, I think they were kind of forced out for obvious reasons that is kind of covered up. Where I don't think he was forced out. I think he's still there. But unfortunately, I can get into the other part of the topic that is probably one of the last topics that's a little bit more widespread, because it's not going to be just Sony and Naughty Dog, but there's more and more layoffs. I guess that we can talk about. Layoffs are starting to happen like crazy, and I just wonder if, because I kind of want to speak on this in a regular solo video that I might actually record in the next couple of days. Maybe gaming just kind of has to have this really hard reset. I think it might be time where it's just like, it has to crash. This is probably the crash. Part of the crash is probably losing studios, losing people apparently. Because the main story, I guess, is Sony was going to do layoffs, or they did layoffs of like 900 people across all of their studios. And then one of their studios, called London Studios, has shut down completely. I think this might be a direct response to them losing like $10 billion from within their company because of their latest statements that came out a few weeks ago about how their sales are not looking like how they want it to be. They want to slow down production, and then also not having a first party AAA game until April 2025. So this might be a direct result of that. And so Sony's having their layoffs, and then on top of that, we also got news coming from within EA, where there is 670 people roughly that is laid off there, and then they also canceled the Star Wars FPS game. I think people are saying this was supposed to be the Mandalorian game. Just canceled outright.
They will not give us a bounty hunter game. Like, no matter what, they had Star Wars 1313, and now this. It's like, we will not get a bounty hunter game.
Yeah, so that kind of happened, and so a whole game is being canceled here, and then on top of that, I think there probably is more. That's the crazy part. But the other one that I wrote down was the developer of the game Life is Strange True Colors. I believe the developer should be called Deck 9. I believe they laid off what they didn't give an exact number. They just said 20% of their staff. And so yeah, developers everywhere. So what's really interesting is, like, you know how people will say like support the devs, support the devs, support the devs. I mean, I understand that, but it's the way it looks to me is that you would pay the money and get your game, and they would just get rid of them anyway. Like that's what it looks like. It looks like across the board, what devs is being supported, because it looks like the publisher is what's being supported. It doesn't look like the devs is being supported, because whatever extra money is coming in, DLCs, whatever, you know, big sales under the eShops and stuff, it's going to go to the publisher. It's not going to these devs. These devs are gone. Once you're gone, you're gone. You don't get like a residual check, you know, which goes doubles for the like remasters and stuff. It's like sometimes newer people is working on it because the old people have been laid off, you know, and the new people with the remasters, they're just doing ports basically, because we've been looking at some of these remasters and we're like, you know, putting the microscope on it, like, what did you actually do, right, outside of just putting it on a later system. And the original developer is long gone, right? They've been long gone, long out of there. Maybe their name is in the credits and that's it. But yeah, man, more layoffs. What do you think? What's going on? Do we need a reset? Is this the call before the storm? What are we saying?
Yes. I feel like the big companies, right, are swallowing up all these little companies, buying them and everything like that, forcing them to do things that they wouldn't normally do. Games go bad. No one's making money except for the big wigs, and then everybody else gets fired. And I feel like that's where we need to reset. If some of these studios that are getting let go, I feel like if they were in the AA space, they wouldn't have. Like, I do feel like for some of them, they got to focus on the type of games they like to make, and they weren't like being told what to do. None of their money was going to a hired like position person for no reason and things like that. They probably wouldn't have gotten the same like cash flow before getting fired, but they would have a steady cash flow and probably wouldn't have been let go. Like, I think AA needs to make a crazy comeback. We need to have more of those experimental games again, and that won't happen if AAA companies just keep buying everybody. And it's just weird that we're buying everybody just to fire them all. And it's just like, well, why are we getting rid of all these little companies? Let the little companies thrive. So, yeah, we need a reset.
Interesting enough.
It's crazy how many games are going to real quick. It's to me, it's going to be crazy how many games are going to be like from these makers, and you're going to look them up, and it's like many of them were the creators of like this game, or many of them worked on this game, and it's just going to be so many like random new studios popping up, and it's just going to be because they can't go by their old name anymore.
Yeah, I think I can mention real quick. Underneath the Activision Blizzard umbrella, there was the group known as Toys for Bob, which I believe are associated with like Crash 4, It's About Time. And there were reports that those guys also, I think they worked on the Spyro and Crash like ports of like their trilogies or whatever. Um, they apparently, it was mentioned that they were gonna leave and become their own independent studio in themselves. Um, and I think a lot of people gave them praise for that, but I think there's a little bit of a like the information is not 100% clear, so people should be aware the IPs I believe does still stay with Activision, within Activision, which would include Crash itself and Spyro. They'll go independent, but they'll come up with their own IP, which is still a good thing. They can still come up with something that's brand new with no restraints from the past, and probably take off. But then also, I believe some of them were also a part of layoffs as well, and I think they were just as like they were just forming their group as a response to that, which is pretty cool. So we'll see something in the future from them. I have been more of an advocate for indie games this generation a little bit more myself. And also, it's interesting that I think the AA games are going to start getting a little bit more praise now because of basically Power World and Helldivers, right? Now, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because they were AA games, but they were largely associated with the main consoles. But I think going forward, it's possible that some of the companies probably can look at it and say, well, if they're able to do something like this with a smaller budget and get that kind of reaction, maybe we can too. And so we might end up seeing a couple of more games here and there that might be more AA. The AAA space, I don't think is going to go away completely, but I think we're definitely going to start seeing a lot less going forward because I guess it costs them. Huh?
I don't know if that's. I don't think that's a bad thing. I feel like in this case, we'll get our AAA. We know they're going to be great. They get to breathe and take their time to actually make them. Folks go on them. They're going to work fantastic. Like it's going to be your how great Batman Arkham like was, and like where the point where they hired a person and their job was to just make sure the cape physics worked for the whole first game.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that was that one person's job is he was specifically there to just make sure the cape is good. So it's like they'll be able to really focus. So you'll get your AAA mega games that are great, and then everything else that's experimental and is just a crazy idea that might work gets to breathe in the AA thing without having to also be a live service, or even if it's like a fan favorite like Titanfall 2 canceled because it didn't bring in enough money. Uh, like you get stuff back. I think having these games, I think the AA is gonna thrive a lot more and make a heavy resurgence, while the AAA won't go anywhere. But it'll be more focused on like it'll be very specific games that are AAA.
Yeah, I think some of these games are probably gonna get a lot more bigger as AA games as more like streamers and stuff get a hold of it. But Helldivers and Power World the last couple months have basically kind of like changed the game without realizing it, because for like Helldivers, like it was a game that was like it's AA, and then it also was like day and date on PlayStation and PC at the same time. And I guess like its main audience is coming from the PC first. And then we had a situation where Paw World was in Game Pass day one, but a bulk of its success was still coming directly off of Steam, where people was just buying it and those games were like both under $60. I think one was like 30, the other one was 40, and you know they just worked, and they didn't have to be where like if somebody was squinting or they had a pimple or like sweat or something. It's like it's the most
Right.
detailed sweat and stuff on their faces. Like it didn't have to have all of that. And even though they were double A, they didn't look that much of a downgrade. It didn't look like it was like, a game from like the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation
Right.
2. It's like, they could still have a game with some relatively nice graphics and still be considered a double A game. I think we took it a little too far with like trying to be the best looking one, because all we really got was like somebody walking in a certain place, and then all it does is just transition into a cutscene and then transition back, and it's like that takes up the most of the AAA because of just like the cost of doing something like that. But the gameplay seemed to come second to like some of the cutscenes and some of the dialogue, and it's just like, I don't need somebody to give me a game where the person is just rattling off at the mouth and giving me all type of hints every 2 seconds about wherever I'm at. I would rather just play the game. And it's just some of the things that's supposed to be details within the AAA space is really unnecessary. What the AAA games need to cut back on a lot of these side quests, a lot of hints, a lot of talking to yourself, and just give you a nice start to finish game. I think
Yeah.
it would benefit from them having like a much smaller open world games where the cities are more dense. There's more details within the city versus just these large open scales of just nothing. And you're just walking and running and running and walking and talking, and that's it. That's the way it
Yeah.
seems. That's
No,
so.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I would like to
Like
see a
I think
change.
so. For example, I think it's like a great comparison to between the two. So Spider-Man 2, right? It's an open map and everything, but the world felt lively. Like every time you land down somewhere, you can interact with things. There's things to do and things like that.
Hmm.
Versus, say, God of War Ragnarok, where I felt like when I had to mush through to get from location to location, to do certain things, it felt like I was just like it was forced there so we could hear the storytelling, like them talking in the
Hmm.
background, where I was just like, you can talk while we're fighting. It's fine if you want to tell me the story. I don't need you to pause the story because we're in the middle of a fight scene. But I felt like I was stuck mushing from a long location to another long location solely just so you guys could talk about your feelings about Freya. And I felt like it could have been done differently. Like I don't know, it felt weird. Uh, like certain times it was like taking in the scenery was beautiful and it was a nice calming thing, but it was a part like certain parts of the game where it's like you're kind of checklisting. Like I gotta grab this from here, this from here, and this from here, so that I'm just mushing back and forth to like checklists, and it's like, there's nothing happening here.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was literally just background and everything. So I didn't like that. It was a specific part of the game, and I think it was the ice world where I had to go back and forth over it like multiple times looking for something. Or at that point where it's like I don't care about the scenery anymore. I just want to find this thing, and like it was just storytelling with the mushing, and it's like this could have been much shorter.
Yeah, so they're probably going to scale it down a little bit, which is good. Is going to be a good thing because there's a whole lot of bloat there. Where technically, even though a game was bloated because they wanted to make it seem longer when it wasn't really that much longer, that still cost money, and it's clearly money they don't really got.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, we'll see. Unfortunately, in the short term, people are going to keep getting laid off. But it would be cool if they formed more smaller studios and be more independent and just like come out with something that's probably multi-plat. It's interesting too because it's like the more this happens, I think we're gonna get more multi-plat studios and less first party in the long run, because um it looks like first party can't really sustain itself. That's what it's starting to seem like. With the exception of Nintendo, I think Nintendo is like they're fighting the emulation, but I don't think Nintendo is in a situation where they're hurting on sales on any of their games. They know how to take their IPs and stretch it.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but I don't like in general how a lot of indie games almost look like they're on the same level as Nintendo games by default, even though it might not be 100% true. I think Nintendo could probably benefit from like making their games just a little bit less cartoony, maybe not too much, but maybe a tiny bit. But the main thing I want to see from Nintendo is just better hardware. Better hardware from Nintendo.
That's what they need. I don't necessarily want them to be less cartoony
Yeah.
because I think the less cartoony does expose their hardware limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And as just, certain games I'm used to, like, I don't need Kirby to look like Elden Ring, right? Like, it's fine if it's cartoony. Uh, but I think graphically it needs to, like, run smoother, and they just need better hardware for that. And I think the issue is indie games have caught up. I think that's the problem. It's like, like
Yeah.
it used to be indie met 8-bit looking, and like now indie games is like, nah, indie games can look good. So now Nintendo
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
to
There
more.
was a game called Ravenlock
Uh,
that debuted on it debuted on Xbox and Game Pass, and it was supposed to be an indie version of Breath of the Wild, and they definitely succeeded. If anybody went and looked at the trailers and stuff, they definitely got it.
huh.
Chia was a game that I spoke on that was like the one that was more associated with PlayStation. That was another one that was like an indie Breath of the Wild, and I think they succeeded for what they wanted too. So if they're able to do it, and you look at like a developer video or something, and it's like 5 people in somebody's apartment or something, like I've seen like some of them, like no disrespect to it, it's just like yo, they made it work with like practically nothing. Like they made it work in somebody's house on weekends and stuff. you know Definitely with like the Playdate, the stuff that I saw with Playdate, it was like couples, like husband and wife for certain games and stuff, and just like, some of these guys are making it work, you know and they know exactly what they need, and they don't exceed their budgets, and they don't have to hire a bunch of people for like 3-4 months, practically lie to them, make them think they got a long-term position when they probably know well in advance that they're not going to keep them that long.
Yeah.
So yeah, reset. We need a big reset. We needed to just kind of like the bubble has to pop a little bit, which I think is already doing it, because at the end of the day, the bigger games are going to end up costing more and more, and the people are just not going to buy it. And then they're going to buy the free to play games, or not buy the free. They're going to buy some microtransactions under the free to play games, but they're not going to take it past that really. And so
Yeah.
the AA games, and the cool thing about AA games is they won't take as long, and then you can get some of these requests done. A AA game is better than no game, and it's also better than a canceled AAA game. So if you can give me a AA Power Ranger, a AA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, something like people were saying Arkham style. I mean, we got to see Sifu, right?
Yeah.
Sifu is not Sifu is a big deal to an extent, but I'm pretty sure that didn't cost as much as like some of these like Marvel-ish type games. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a developer. I can't really speak on all the budgets and stuff, but I definitely think a reset is It's coming sooner than later.
I agree.
What that probably means, though, I think it's not. We're not going to get everything that we want because part of the reset is going to involve like basically starting over, but everything is all digital. I think that's probably the next step, whether we like it or not. And then I guess we're gonna see more day and date releases on multi platforms and PC and stuff. I think we're gonna see that a little bit more. That might hurt the console warrior person, but there's just gonna be some changes. That's all I know. It's definitely gonna be some changes, but support whatever you can, and yeah, heart goes out to everybody losing their jobs. I think a lot of people is gonna bounce back though, because these guys still got skill. You can't just become a developer overnight, so somebody's gonna take them somewhere, I'm sure. But unfortunately, like some of the guys are gonna have to like really look at their options and say, I don't know if this company is gonna keep me for a certain amount of time. Which might also hurt gaming in the future, because when you're laying off this many people across the board, I mean, some of them are gonna be like, I don't know if I want to go back to certain places. So but yeah, I guess that's it. I think that's all we got. Anything else you want to mention?
Well, I did have one more thing I wanted to talk about. It was a hypothetical
Okay.
from a post that I saw. So I want to get your thoughts on it too. I saw this Twitter post that was mentioning that we should get Hogwarts Legacy game, but for X-Men, right? Where you're like, you got powers assigned to you. You get to pick your mentor. You can potentially join the Brotherhood with Magneto. You're going through classes like it's like the normal, like what you had to do for Hogwarts, but as an X-Men student. And man, when I read that, did I tell you how much I want that, bro? Like, I think that with the Deadpool movie coming out, they got the Wolverine game in the works, and X-Men '97 coming out, and it looks like they're gonna really be doing the X-Men now. I feel like that's gonna be what revitalizes this phase for Marvel movies. Side note, I saw The Marvels, the one with the three women, and it was really good. I actually really liked it. But uh, with the X Men kind of revitalizing everything, uh, this game I think would be a great idea to do. Uh, Especially with the success that they want you to not pay attention to for Hogwarts Legacy. I think X Men could get there with the same idea. So, uh,
It'll be cool to see if it can work. The only thing about it is like with X-Men, everybody's got different kind of powers, and then you would have to like somehow make all these people feel different,
yeah,
which something like Marvel's Avengers couldn't really pull off like that.
well, uh, like I said, with Hogwarts Legacy and everything, right? It was you just did your spells. So all they
Yeah.
really have to do for multiple playthroughs is you could have, like at least for the first game, three powers to choose from, right? Like three separate power sets. And I think something that they could specifically do that I think would be interesting if they could work it in is a weakness to a degree, right? Where like for example, with Nightcrawler, right? He's able to teleport, but he's gonna have a harder time going out in the real world because he's blue. Or Cyclops has the vision, however, like the laser optic vision, but he needs to keep his goggles on. Uh, so I think having a power and a weakness in some way can also make that really interesting too. Like your interactions with people, and if you're trying to interact with the real world, how well can you do so if you physically look different than a normal human? Do you care about that? Is that a reason why you would join the Brotherhood? Is that their way of trying to convince you to join them? Like I feel like that would be a cool way to do that. And you're just your one person, and then like if you go on superhero missions and everything like that, that's where you get to hone in your powers. And they can even do an infamous thing, right? Where there's like the two routes for the power. So it's like the good guy route if you're really doing the good guy stuff, or the bad guy route for your powers and everything. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like depending on how involved they would want to get into this game, I feel like that's some stuff they can really pull off, and you're just your person.
Hey, it sounds like a good concept.
So
Um,
now I need an X-Men game and a Power Rangers game.
now you did an X Men and Power Ranger.
Yep.
Hey, it depends. If we get more people forming smaller studios, you might be able to see something. The X Men one actually, like some of these are technically hard to do though because of like licensing, but
Yeah. So they can do
um
offshoots, right? Like we didn't have a Power Rangers, but we had a Chroma Squad game that was clearly inspired,
yeah.
and they could easily like here's a super powered school like instead of specifically X Men. I don't know, but some
Hey, the more games, the better. That's how I look at it. So
yeah.
maybe we can see some stuff like that come after the reset, or maybe right before it. It's fun. I don't know exactly what the reset, quote unquote, would be, but I just feel like we're very close to it. As
Yeah.
crazy as it is, like in the beginning of the generation, in a way, I don't think we're not fully towards the halfway point yet. So, but a lot of things are happening at the same time. But yeah, I think that is all that we do have for you. And so you'll hear back from me more on this type of topic, probably much more sooner than later, because I kind of wanted to address some of this stuff anyway. So you probably should expect like a solo one. It'll be quick, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, we'll be back next week. And I think maybe I can address the release dates for this is somewhat changing as we go, just because we record at different times, and so if you see something go up, most likely it was recorded the night before, and I don't really feel like it's necessarily to hold in the system longer than it needs to. So in some cases you'll start getting the episodes early, if we're early, or if we're late we might get it later depending on what it is. For anybody out there that's been rocking with me, just so you know. However, we don't really plan on having any shortages, so at least not to the best of our knowledge. I mean, we'll talk about our schedules and stuff later, but yeah, it Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, somewhere up in that ballpark, you might start seeing episodes more at that time, other than Sunday. But expect one once a week. So, other than that, that's all I wanted to address. I probably should have said that part at the beginning, but that's all right. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.